Hey, welcome to Rust Arrival Garage. Time for one of my least favorite things in the world, cleaning out a dirty old engine bay from a classic car. This is my 1968 Pontiac lemans, and I don't know if you've seen the previous videos or not, but I've got my Pontiac 350 engine basically refreshed and looking nice and pretty, and I want to put it back in the car. The problem is this engine bay does not look very nice, so that means I need to clean it and prime it and paint it. It's not a very fun job, but let's get to it. So I've got the tires aired up. I'm going to roll it out of the garage just far enough that I can do the gunk in here, get it all nice and clean, spray it down, roll it back in. Should be far enough. Just need to shock the wheels and we should be good. Alright, so the instructions on the gunk: heavy duty gel, says to spray it on when it's dry. Let it set for 10 to 15 minutes. We'll do a little scraping on it suggests, and then we rinse it off. It doesn't like to be upside down, that's for sure. Alright, that's the whole can. This is the worst part. Basically, everything down in here is just so caked. So I'm going to concentrate on this. I'm going to scrub this after about 15 minutes and then rinse it off. Up here is not quite as bad as I thought. This is the first time I've had this car out in daylight where I could see all of these things in a while. Firewall is not as terrible as I thought it was, but yeah, mostly it's the whole front of the frame and the supports and the tie rods and everything else down here that's really bad. So let's let it set for 15. Got about 5 minutes left on the timer, but I figured I'd just go ahead and start scrubbing a little bit now. It helps to have long arms, though. I don't have to get down in here. So yeah, you can start to see some metal again, so it's going to need a lot of scrubbing. lot of just basically get in there and dig it all out, but it's a good start. Got a lot of the stuff off, and I can see that it's not quite as crusty down in here. Sway bar, all that stuff, not as bad as it was, so it definitely helped a little bit. This was the heavy duty gunk gel. This is super duty or heavy duty, and worked pretty good. But I can see a lot of hand scrubbing and super clean in my future. All right, got it dried out a little bit. Now it's time to get her back into her home. We're just gonna push straight back. There's a wheel chock on the other side. Can you grab it? Just pull the orange thing out. Doesn't weigh as much with the engine in it. How are we doing over there?
No, we're good.
Am I gonna hit that?
No, it's really close though. You're like 2 inches.
Alright, go put the little wheel chock in.
I got it.
Alright, so I got it cleaned up. Now it's just elbow grease and super clean and wire wheels and sandpaper and all of that stuff, and just gotta basically get this cleaned as well as I can, painted, and I'm gonna probably replace the battery tray, definitely do new shocks before I put the engine back in, and yeah, so time to get to work. So how do I know it's going to suck? Because I've already done it before. In the 85 C10, I basically took the engine out and took everything else out, got it all out of the way, sanded it all down, painted it all up, replaced the inner fender wells, and got it as clean as I possibly could before the new engine went back in. So yeah, I know how much it sucks to sit on that cross member down there and sand and sand and clean and clean and prime and paint and spend hours getting it to look all nice and black where you can't see it. All right, so what do you need to use to clean out your engine bay to get it ready to paint? I'm going to show you some of the things that I've used in the past. In case you've never done this before, these are the things that I used in order to clean up the engine bay on the 85 C10. Basically, you're going to need a shit ton of paper towels. I've been using the Super Clean. I've already used the gunk to clean it out. If you've got a pressure washer, even better. I didn't have a pressure washer. I just had to use a hose to gunk it up, let it sit for a while, then sprayed it out as best I could. You might need some gloves. It gets to be really messy. One of the things that I like to use are for the small little areas to get down into little corners and spots like this are these kinds of brushes. The silver ones work way better than the bronze ones. The bronze ones just sort of fold up, but the silver ones you can sort of wipe off, use again. You might need a brush to sort of scrub while you've got the Super Clean on there. I always try to use some kind of scraper. There's the kind that have the razor blades in it that you can use to scrape things away. I really like this one. It's got a nice little scooped section that allows you to just get in there and scrape really well. And I even go with a small flathead screwdriver just to get in again to those little tight corners and small areas. Having these little wire wheels are great. You can see here I've even got some of the black stuff on there from just trying to wipe away the grease. But these are great to get out rust, to get out and you know, just about any gunk that you've got built up in there. Little bit metal shavings, grease. If you've got dried up grease, you can get it out. You can get the rust out. You can basically take away the paint if there's any paint on there as well with these wire brushes. You know, just having any kinds of Brillo pads, bristle pads, SOS pads, lots and lots of different kinds of sandpaper. And one of the things I want to try this time are these sort of nylon bristle brushes. Apparently these work fairly well. There's an 80 grit, a 120 grit, and then I think the blue is 240. But it basically allows you to just, again, scrape in there and not do quite as much damage. It won't get away like really hard rust and thick paint. It won't take that off. But if it's something light that you just want to sort of brush away, I'm going to try these out and see how well they work. So I guess the first place I should start is my seat. Although the truck one I think was a little farther up here, and I was able to kind of sit and work in there. But I mean, I spent a lot of time inside that truck engine bay, because reaching across here to all these pieces, parts, is just not fun. First thing I want to do, I think, is take out the battery tray and see if I can clean this up and get it painted. I don't think I want to buy a new one if I don't have to. It's about $100 for that. But yeah, I think I'll do the battery tray, and then I will focus on the cross member, so I've got a good place to sit. Did get a little bit of a start here. Actually was able to clean off the area underneath the for the core support for underneath the radiator. Got that cleaned and painted at one point. One of them was attached to the inner fender well. Got that out. The other one was up in here. I think that's it. Alright, so yeah, that's my battery tray. It's really rusty, but thinking it can be saved. There's no holes. Just got to clean it up and see what it looks like. So even though I gunked this, you can still see it's just so heavy. Glorious. Super clean. Super clean. Like crazy. Just layers upon layers. "56 years. Oh crap. Yeah, there you go, big chunks. Lovely. Yeah, so lots of this. I'm just gonna crank up the music and go to town. You guys don't want to watch somebody scraping sludge out of an engine bay. But yeah, gonna be fun. Oh look, we're starting to see metal. Yeah, I'm not even close to being done, but that is back to almost bare metal. And so I'm making progress. Like I said, this is the worst part of the car. Get this cleaned up, I can basically sit in here and work on all the walls and electric and everything else. So making progress. So again, you can kind of see here a little bit of better light today. Managed to get a lot of the tops of the frame rail cleaned off. Managed to get down in through here. It's going to be again harder to get back into some of these corners back in here, but as you can see, it's mostly down to just bare metal now. And I did get the top of this frame rail, so I'm hoping to clean this up enough today to get this section primered and ready for paint And again, it's like down in the little sections in here that I've really got to get that grease out of. It's always going to be all the stuff that takes the longest amount of time is cleaning out all the little corners and nooks and crannies. All right, so my battery tray sat in the kerosene and ATF, got a lot of the old gunk off of it. Now I've got a bunch of rust to deal with. I think I actually may set this in vinegar for a while, let that soak in vinegar, eat up a lot of this rust, and see how that looks. And then I can go ahead and start sanding this thing down. And because I'm a glutton for punishment, I decided to jack the car up a little bit, give me more access to this cross member here. I mean, you can tell it's still just caked on. And so yeah, I'm gonna have to, I didn't want to try to do that standing underneath the car or standing over the car, bending over the thing and killing my back. So I'm gonna scrape away at this, put some super clean on it, gonna let that set for a little bit, and then I'm gonna see if I can scrape a lot of this away. All right, making a little progress down here. Got that side cleaned up. Now I just need to get the other side. But yeah, looking a little better. So here it is on the front side of the cross member. It's pretty nasty. You can see here where I tried to scrape it a little bit from above, but it's just back-breaking work. But started to get from the top part down. See if I can clean this up. Now, keep in mind with the super clean stuff, you do have a lot of bushings in here. It's not great for the super clean to be on the bushings, but I'm trying to wipe it off as soon as I've had a chance to let it settle. And it's a good chance I'm going to have to replace them anyway, but I've just got to get all these years and years of grime off here. So basically you want to do the super clean all around. Let it set for 10 to 15 minutes so it has a chance to cut through all this grime. And once that's done, it's time to scrape and scrape and scrape. Guess one of the other tools I forgot to mention was vacuum cleaner. So you end up with a lot of stuff that you're scraping falling down below, and it's a good idea to vacuum it up as you go along. Same thing with the pieces that you scrape off. You just kind of want to vacuum as much as you can, because if you don't, you end up spreading the grease back around again. We are looking a lot better. Still a lot of work to be done, but slowly but surely making some progress. So I've got everything cleaned up with acetone, covered up the stuff that I don't want to be painted. I actually don't want to do the trans lines with the etching primer. Not sure what it'll do to it. So I've got a lot of stuff taped off, but I'm just going to concentrate on this main area right in here, because then I can get in here and work my way out to the other areas from in here once this is all nice and clean and painted. Since I'm down to the bare metal, what I'm going to use is the Rust-Oleum self-etching primer. That'll give me a nice good base coat of primer along the cross member, and then I'll give something for the black paint to stick to. Okay, wore my mask for safety, but basically I'm going to let that set for about 10 minutes. Did a fairly light coat, and then once that sets for a little while, 10 minutes to another coat, and we should be good with the primer. All right, coat number 2. This one I do a lot heavier. All right, there's one coat of the VHT roll bar and chassis high temperature paint. So I've got a couple coats of the roll bar and chassis paint. It's a little cooler out here than I'd like, but hopefully this will set up and we'll be good to go. All right, let's see how it turned out. Looking all right. Nice and smooth, and certainly a lot cleaner than it was. All right, now just got to start tackling the rest of it. All right, let's see if these little nylon bristles can do any work on this. Let's see how well it does on this inner fender well. Huh. Sort of roughs it up a little bit, but doesn't leave any marks. Just don't know how good it's cleaning. And this is the other problem that I have. Right down here, if you look, is the original paint color of the car. So when they did this sort of cheap ass paint job, they didn't really get down in here and cover this. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna do. I don't think it's gonna stay this color, so I don't want to try to match it and paint it the same along here. But I also don't want to leave it this two-tone bullshit. So I'm not sure what I should do. Maybe I'll... You know what I might do, I think? I might come up with black. So maybe paint, leave this the red/maroon color here. Maybe paint this black so that it matches down along in here. You can even see some of the overspray. Gets a little bit of a maroon tint on this black. But I'm going to be painting this black, and I might as well just do this section in here too. Because again, I don't know eventually what color this car is going to end up. And I don't want to have 3 different paint colors going on. So I think I may have to do this original green color in a black too. Just sort of tape this off and do that. But yeah, not sure if I'm seeing a whole lot from the sort of nylon bristles, but then I don't know what I expected. If I used the metal bristles like this, it's just going to strip the paint off and leave a lot of gouges. So maybe I'll just use this to rough it up. I'll do the I think it's the 80 grit, 120, 240, get it all nice and rough and then smoothed up, clean it, and then paint it. I also need to get this little overflow tank out of the way. And now we got a little more room to work in here and get this all nice and cleaned up. So I've got this section back in here sanded up a little bit. It's at least roughed up. What I'm going to do is put the metal prep on there, eat up some of this rust, get it all nice and degreased, and then we should be okay to paint this up. Right now it's just dusty from all the nylon sanding that I've been doing. Yeah, this one's really bad though. I'll probably do a lot more with this side. But back in here and here and the whole fender well should be good to go. All right, so what I'm gonna paint basically the sides of the engine bay. I like to go through with this Pour 15 cleaner degreaser. It's basically a super high grade industrial strength cleaner. You got to mix it with 4 parts hot water and up to 10 parts hot water. After I've got that on, I use the metal prep. The metal prep, you've got to basically keep it wet for about 30 minutes. It helps turn any of the old rust into just basically eliminates the rust. So I do that, I leave that on for 30 minutes, and then it's good to go to paint. As you can see right now, I'm using the battery tray. I've degreased it, and then I've got the metal prep on here. It says keep it wet for 30 minutes. And I've done the other side. It's been 30 minutes. This side, if it starts to dry out a little bit, I just spray it down again and keep it nice and wet. All right, here I'm doing the metal prep. Getting that nice and wet. Gonna keep it wet for 30 minutes. Here's a bit better look at what that metal prep does. It basically just eats up all the rust, turns it white. Alright, so there's a little bit better look after the metal prep has done its work. It looks a little bit orange back in there, but it's actually not. And see how this one is mostly white, and a lot of the rust that was in there is now gone, and it's nice and smooth and ready for some paint. Alright, so that does not look great. The years of battery acid have left it really textured. I mean, I actually used a wire sanding brush on this, and just, I mean, sparks were flying, and I could not grind it down enough. So this just doesn't look great. Yeah, I may end up replacing this. It's like 30 bucks. The problem is that you really can't see it. So I don't know. I've got it apart. I think maybe I will replace it, because this is just a little rough. Yeah, I think I may get a new one. All right, there is the second coat. We'll come back in with a bit of a heavier coat on the third one and be all done. So we've got our paint on and looking pretty good. So basically all I need to do is just continue around, do the firewall, do this side, and maybe clean up a little bit up here. And that's it. We will have this looking good. Yeah, one side is done. All right, now that it's dried, looking pretty good. Pretty happy with that. Let's take a look down in there. Yeah, turned out all right. Got a little bit of some runs right in through here, but I'll basically sand those out and try again. So I think that the engine bay is really coming along, starting to look pretty good. What I've done on there is basically going to be the same all the way around. I'm going to clean up the firewall, paint that, go around to the other side and paint that, finish up on the front end of the engine bay. Unfortunately, I kind of wanted to show you the whole thing, but I've been off my feet for about a week, and I actually have gone to the doctor and need to go get surgery. Got a hernia, basically, that is the kind that you desperately need to operate on. And so I've had to stop work on that, and I need to get that taken care of. It also means I don't know what I'm going to be able to do for making video content for at least a couple weeks, because you can't lift anything heavy and all that. But there's basically how you do clean and paint your engine bay. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you can, like, comment, and subscribe, please, because I'm going to be doing a lot more to that 68 Le Mans, and I'm going to be putting that Pontiac 350 back in to that nice and clean engine bay once I'm back up on my feet. Thanks very much for tuning in. We will catch you next time.